Guys, today we're taking a look at a brand new welding machine by YesWelder. Not only are we going to review this in depth, but we're going to use it to build a completely and totally vital component on our 55 Chevy truck. If that sounds like something you might be interested in, stick around. What's up, guys? Welcome back to INTHESHOPTV. If you're just joining us for the first time, my name is Mike, and we've been building a 1955 Chevy truck in our shop for a little over a year now. Every once in a while, we do product reviews, and today I'm really excited to review this. This is a new welder by a company called YesWelder. You might have seen them on Facebook. They're kind of a unique company in that they do Kickstarter campaigns to kind of boost awareness about their product and also get user feedback on what they like and don't like and what they want to see in future machines. And this machine is exactly a culmination of all of that together. So they've had a couple machines in the past, and they've collected a lot of data from users about what they want to see in a welding machine, and this is kind of the result of it. And I think initial impressions so far, they really did a fantastic job on it, but haven't welded with it yet. I don't know anything about it, so we're going to learn together. We're going to dig into it. So this is really going to be like a two-part video. We're going to do a review video on this welding machine and really look at it in depth, and then we're going to switch over to car stuff because this is a car channel, and we're going to build a really vital safety component for this 55 Chevy truck that we're building using this welding machine. So, should I be doing that with a machine that I have no experience with? I don't know, but hey, you only live once, right? All right, so let's dig into this machine. So everyone always starts at the pretty end of these units. Let's start at the back for once. So kind of no frills, but what I really do like is a nice, robust gas connection, a shrouded power switch, and your thermal protection fan. Let's fire it up and take a quicker look. Arguably my favorite part. Oh yeah, so satisfying. So obviously the first thing we see is this gorgeous 7-inch LED display. You know, if you're standing far away from the machine and just at a quick glance, you got a really good indicator of what your wire speed and your volts are. Down at the bottom, we've got really solid, nice looking DINS connectors. So guys, super user-friendly interface, which I really, really like. You've got all these icons on the top and the bottom, and basically whatever one you select via this middle knob will highlight the function that you want to change. So we're gonna go and scroll over here to the material, click it once, and that brings up the menu for your material thickness. Today we're going to be working with 1/8, maybe some 3/16. So we scroll over to 1/8, give it a click, it goes to 1/8, and automatically sets your settings to what the kind of industry standard parameters are for your wire feed speed and for your voltage. Now that's not set in stone. Obviously everyone has their own parameters that they like to work with, so they're fine-tunable by using these knobs here. As you can see, our wire feed speed is increasing or decreasing based on how you turn the knob. We're going to set it to the factory default settings for 1/8. just to see how it does. Same thing over here with volts. You would turn this knob to increase or decrease to get your personal setting dialed in just right how you want it. So I kind of jumped ahead. Let's back over here and look at all these features. We're set on steel right now, which is what we're going to be working with, but if we press that, you can see that we have an option for stainless and different types of aluminum. So we're going to stick with steel. You have your gas selection knob, what type of gas you want to be working with. We're staying right where we are with a C25 mix. Moving over one, this is where you would select the diameter wire that you're working with, obviously. So you've got your thin wire for thin metal and body panels and stuff like that, 030, which is very common, and so on and so forth down the line. We're going to be working with 030 today. Material thickness we've already set. 2T and 4T, most of you guys know what this is. 2T, basically you push your torch trigger, strike an arc, you let go, and it stops flowing wire out, and you stop your arc. 4T, you would push the trigger once, and you continue to get an arc until you push the trigger again. Spot is a really, really cool feature that I like a lot, especially when I'm doing classic auto body with a thin metal. That's a really nice feature so that you get the same profile on your weld beads to make grinding those weld beads down much less of a chore and get a nicer finish. Going into that setting is where you would set your spot time. Switching over to memory, this is a really cool feature. Here's basically your first memory setting, and what that does is that these settings that you have here, if you want it for 1/8, let's just say you like it at 286, you would go to your memory and select number 1, and that would be your personal setting for 1/8 steel. Really a cool feature to make you dialing up your settings really quick and effortless. So here you've got your MIG gun feature. Clicking into that, you can select between your MIG torch or your spool gun. We're going to be sticking with MIG torch today because we're working with steel. Scroll over one to gas check. Basically, that's just check the flow of gas through the machine. If we press this, we'll hear a relay click. There it goes. And we don't have any gas hooked up just yet, but that would basically verify the flow of gas through the machine. Click done. Switching over to pulse. We don't really do a lot of pulse MIG in this shop, but it's a really cool feature if you want to use that. Let's look at advanced for a second and see what we bring up here. Oh man, now you're talking.
So the first setting in this screen is inductance, which is a feature that I'm a really big fan of. Basically, you can increase or reduce your inductance. And if you increase the inductance, you can kind of get a softer weld puddle, make it flow out a little bit better. And the same thing is true if you go in the opposite direction, you can get a little bit more of a crown. Scrolling over, we got pre-flow, which is really cool. We never even have to work with that, but that's the amount of gas that flows out before you strike your arc. Scrolling over one, back to our individual controls over our weld parameters. Scrolling over one more, burn back. Man, that's not a feature I've ever had on any of my welding machines. So I'm really eager to get into that when we start welding and check it out. And over here, post-flow, of course, is the amount of gas that flows out of your torch after you let off the trigger. So let's scroll over to the help section and see what that brings up. So it's kind of a neat diagram. It basically shows you where everything needs to be hooked up if you're on MIG. So your MIG torch is going to be in the positive connection, which we already are down on the bottom. And your work leader, your ground, should be in the negative connection. Shows that you need to have your gas connected and so on and so forth. And then these two little gray icons, one is for the spool gun here, etc., are left gray because you're not using them. So let's exit out of here and check out some other features of this machine. So the machine set up obviously to take the larger 10 to 11 pound spools and also the smaller spools as well. You may notice two USB-C ports up in here. That's because unlike a lot of machines, this machine is actually updatable to their most current software. I actually have my USB stick here ready to go. I have not updated the machine yet myself, but we will be doing that. Got a well-made drive roll system, and they give you this really cool holder for additional drive rollers down here so they don't get lost or they're not fumbling around. Look at this MIG torch. This thing is beefy, man. This is not the chintzy torch that comes in your normal garden variety inexpensive welding kits. This is a really, really heavy duty torch. Really firm tactile buttons on it. Thick, solid, really heavy duty, really nice. Feel this. Very impressed, did not expect to see this at all. It's actually one of those things that you will look to upgrade right away on less expensive machines. In the box, they include a graphene liner for your MIG gun. Say you want to weld aluminum, but you don't have a spool gun, they include this. I should probably elaborate just a little bit more on this type of gun. There's two different types of guns that you would encounter most commonly with welding machines. The Tweco style torch and this Binzel or whatever you call these. The differences are, and the pros and cons are, I think anyway, this Binzel style is a bit more ergonomic and it's a little more solid. I think it's a nicer build quality torch personally. The con to it is that the consumables are not as readily available as with a Tweco style torch. With the Tweco style torches, they're a little bit more, I don't know, they don't feel as nice to me in the hand. They're not as ergonomic, I think. However, you can pretty much walk into anywhere. I mean, any Home Depot, Northern Tools, your local welding shop, and they're gonna have contact tips and nozzles and all that stuff that you need for them pretty much wherever you go. Next, we come to our work lead or ground. Anyone who's been watching me with welding machines knows that I'm kind of a sucker for a thicker cable, which this has. I'm really happy about that. And a pet peeve of mine, which you guys have heard me say over and over, is cable memory. This is one of those cables that does not have memory in it. You know what I mean by when you kind of have them folded up and they stay in that shape, they never really lay flat. This is a nice soft supple cord. Big pro for me when it comes to welding equipment. The clamp, nothing special. It's kind of your basic garden variety clamp. You can always switch those over to the nice brass ones, but this will work. The remaining stuff in the box is this pigtail adapter, which we're not going to use. We're going to be on 240. They give you extra contact tips in a little wrench form, a gas hose, and they give you extra drive rollers, which is really cool. I'm going to tuck these two things away inside the machine, and we'll put this stuff away for now. All right, so that's the basic features and setup of that machine. Let's show you the project that we have to do today. So this is a Gen 4 Corvette pedal. It's for drive-by-wire, and this bracket on the back right here is flat. As you can see, we need to get two bolts connected to that, but we determined that the location that it needs to go in is right where that firewall is at an angle. But on the upper part where the firewall bends up right there is a smooth firewall on the exterior side of the engine bay. And I don't want to drill into that and have an ugly bolt sticking out of it. And we have that nasty gap behind there. So what we're going to have to do is make a special bracket that bolts to the bottom portion of the firewall where the bolts won't be so obtrusive and ugly, and then secures the entire pedal assembly to it. Now, if you go to the Holley website, they make tons of brackets for these pedals to work in these types of old vehicles and configurations, but of course they don't make it for mine. So we've got to make our own. So I think the plan of attack here, what I'm going to do first is make a rectangular plate that sits flat against this, that has two pieces of threaded rod welded in so that we could bolt this to the plate. Once we've got that plate down, we can come up with kind of an angled bracket to weld onto the back of it that's wider and that can through bolt to the lower part of that firewall.
Okay, so that inductance feature really helped wet out that puddle, get a nice circular puddle, not too high of a bead profile. Definitely got good penetration, as you can see.
So one thing that I'll say right off the bat that's kind of impressive to me is that the stock basic settings without tweaking it, that's just the default 1/8 setting, is actually pretty damn close, I would say, to being right on the money. You might adjust it for your personal taste, how you like a weld bead to look and whatnot. But if you just left it on that default setting and went for it, I think you'd be just fine.
See if the pedal fits on there. Oh, perfect. All right. I think it's welding just fine, guys. Looks pretty good to me.
All right, now that we've got the flat plate cut for the back of the pedal with the threaded pieces welded in place, we're gonna cut our base plate. I'm gonna use 3/16 here instead of 1/8, just for a little bit more rigidity. I'm gonna cut out this rectangular shape. We determined that it's 4 1/4 by 3.5 inches.
All right, so we got our base plate, and I've got just a little tiny piece of 1/8 right here that I cut, just a little sliver that we're gonna tack weld in place right now, and it's gonna be kind of the stepping stone to mount this in this configuration. So let's go ahead and get this tacked down real quick. So this piece that I just marked, we got it cut out and ground down. I'm gonna go ahead and tack weld it right here, give us kind of a bridge or give us that height differential from one end to the other. That'll give us that angle that we need on the pedal plate. So I've just tacked it on real quick because I wanna make sure that we have the angle that we need over there in the cab before we fully weld this up. If I have to make any changes, I can always just cut those 2 tacks off and make an adjustment from there. So I don't wanna fully weld it just yet. All right, that looks pretty good, and the pedal depresses all the way, does not hit the floor. We still have about 1/4 inch clearance for carpet and everything else. All right, we got everything measured out in the cab the way we want it. Let's get this thing welded up and put this machine to the test. Nice looking weld bead, really happy with it so far.
All right, so before we fully welded this, I took it over to the cab, mounted the pedal, mounted this to the firewall, kind of a pain in the neck, but I wanted to make sure it was just right, and that pedal set just exactly where I wanted it to. The machine performed flawlessly. It looks really good. I'm really happy with it. Definitely not going anywhere. Now it's time to get some paint on this thing.
All right, it's the next day. We're all dried up. Let's check it out. All right, we're all bolted up, and the kind of cool part about this is that with these two bolts that we welded in here, I can use washers as shims to get the exact angle that I need on this pedal at a later date.
You know, guys, one of the things about sponsored content is I think sometimes viewers feel that the content creator is like really obligated to say like pleasantries or nice things about the product that they are filming about. YesWelder did not pay me anything. They just sent me the machine to try out. So I gave it an honest review, and so far I think actually the machine's really good. Sometimes I almost wish that there was something wrong with these machines so that I could be like, it's no good, don't buy it, it sucks. But that just doesn't seem to be the case. I'm actually really happy with it. I really like the features of it. I really like that screen and how user-friendly it is. One thing for me, welding, is that I just really like the idea to be able to call up your settings really quick, which is nice to have that memory setting and not have to futz with stuff a lot, because time is money for me. And I really just want to be able to do this stuff quick and not, putz around with it too long and find my settings and fine tune. So I think that's one of the greatest features of it, is that it's just super user-friendly and quick to get your settings. It's full-featured, which is another thing that I really like. And the build quality seems to be at a higher standard than what you typically find on your lower budget machines. Their Kickstarter campaign ends on the 28th of this month, so there's not a lot of time left. If you guys want to buy this, I'm not sure if the price is going to increase or not once it goes live or whatever, or however those Kickstarter campaigns work. But right now, I believe it's at $420 something for the machine with everything pictured, which I think for the machine itself, what you're getting is a phenomenal deal. Honestly, I really can't see anything wrong with that price point. I don't know if the price is going up after that, after the campaign is done, but at that price, I would say jump on it if you're interested in this machine. I do have an affiliate link, so if you buy it, I might end up getting like a whole 7 cents or something on the machine, which I really appreciate since I don't make a lot of money doing these videos. So if you use my link, I'd really appreciate it if you're interested in buying the machine. And if you guys like this content, you want to see more of the 55 Chevy truck get built, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and click that little bell notification so that you get notified whenever we upload new content pertaining to this channel or this build. Well, guys, that's going to do it for this video and the YesWelder DP200. Really like the machine. I want to thank YesWelder for sponsoring this video and for sending it out to us to try. And until next time, guys, I'll see you in the shop.